Thank you. Beautiful as always. We are so grateful. So this morning, I allowed their song that they performed earlier to be an inspiration for what I was going to talk about today. And it is better to light a candle than to curse the darkness. I tried to track back to who might have said that first, but there's no way. Too many people have claimed that they said it. And of course, all the masters that have walked the earth have said some variety of it. Jesus said, "Let there be light, be the light." Many variations of that. Confucius is said to have made this very comment. Eleanor Roosevelt, and of course, Charlie Brown, or I should say Linus, in this Snoopy cartoon. I guess Linus is the little philosopher, is he, that's always giving some advice, because Charlie Brown finds himself in so many situations and he can't really understand and doesn't know, and this little guy Linus always has the advice. I've heard that it's better to light a single candle, than to curse the darkness. So sweet. How do we do that? And we know that they have the example in that same comic strip. It goes on, and the last square shows Lucy loudly cursing the darkness. Of course, it's what she's known for. It's what she's known for. We love those lyrics, and the song was written by Neil Young. Is that correct? The song you performed earlier, and beautiful, beautiful lyrics. Light a candle in the darkness. It's so much better. And there's so many variations of that rule in life, and especially when we see so many painful things going on. And we don't have to dwell on it either. We can just observe. We felt like we were in a time of consciousness raising higher, or rising higher and higher, and we are. We are, and we know that, and we claim it. We know that. But then sometimes we will read the headlines, and we see of war here, there, and everywhere, and we just wonder when will we rise above that? Now, does it help if we sit and worry about it and take away our own peace of mind? No, doesn't help a bit, does it? As a matter of fact, the more light you send to that situation, the sooner a solution will come. Sending light to dark places is one of the most powerful things you can ever do. And you have the choice. Every single moment, you have the choice. You can complain about what's going on around the world, and I know we do. I mean, let's exclaim about it instead of complain, okay? Will Bowen is another Unity minister, and he, several years ago, he thought of a program that would really lighten the world, and it was a complaint-free world. And he even created complaint-free bracelets, and it was wildly, wildly popular, and many, many people participated in that program. And I think about it a lot myself. Every time I start to complain, I'll say, okay, pop that bracelet on my arm. Don't do that. As we said, we can't exclaim about it, okay? Because there is a lot of darkness, and we don't like to see children in harm's way. We don't like to see war. We don't like to see all of these other things that have been around since the beginning of time, and we thought we were beyond that. And then to see it raising its ugly head again, it doesn't feel good. But here's what we can do. we can rise above it. And as I said, the more light that we can bring within our own lives, right here, our own lives, and the more light we can send to that situation, the sooner a solution will be found. Because you see, there's always a spiritual solution. Always, always, always. But when people can see nothing but their human selves, and they haven't seen the light, that there's another life beyond this one, and they think this is all it is, all there is. It's what's in front of us, what topic there is. But when we can see a glimmer of a light, and we see that one power and that one presence and that one love that we call God, we see that glimmer coming through. That's when our spiritual journey begins to expand. And we're coming out of a tunnel, and we're accepting our higher selves. And then from that place, we can take a bird's eye view, too, of whatever's going on in the world. And we can take a higher point of view and look at it, knowing that these people aren't really just the human body. They are a live spirit within, and that spirit lives on. And we can then maybe see them a little differently. All this scurrying back and forth and fighting and whatever else is going on, whatever darkness and anger, we can see it a little differently, and we can pray that the light will win out, and they will see the light much sooner and live that way. It's our small selves that see ourselves as only human, and we don't see that there is an expanded view. And so we keep getting human solutions, don't we? Say, why does this keep on happening to me over and over and over again? Well, I'm seeing it from a human point of view, and that's how I'm handling it. And once we can allow the light to come in, we'll start to see light and love-filled solutions. How do we do that? In our quiet moments, and I suggested a couple of weeks ago that we take some moments before sleep, and when we get up in the morning, call that time whatever you want to. Call it your golden hour, call it your power hour, call it your time with God. You can take 15 minutes, 30 minutes, as long as you want, whatever helps you to connect with the one power. And you do that by going within and allowing the light of God to shine through you. And that's how you bring light to dark places. That's exactly how you bring light to dark places. You take it with you wherever you go. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. Sometimes it takes something big to wake us up. We know that. I remembered a story that I told a few years ago, and it's a woman, Miriam Greenspan, and she's a psychotherapist, and she has practiced for more than 35 years. And she told of the most painful time in her life. She told of when she was young and her first child was born without the ability to suck. And at that time, there wasn't anything that could be done for this child, this baby, this perfect baby that she delivered. And then she was told that it was just a matter of days that he couldn't possibly live. His name was Aaron. She was an agnostic. She didn't believe in anything other than this human life. She didn't believe that there was an afterlife. She believed this is all there was this human life. And she said that daily she went to the hospital and she held Aaron in her arms and she loved him and she allowed him to love her. And each day she began to notice more and more the light that was coming from his eyes. She said it was so incredible and almost otherworldly. She didn't know what to think of it. But slowly it soothed her. Instead of knowing that any moment could be her last with him, she began to appreciate every single moment and to be grateful for every moment that she had with him. So when she would go to the hospital, she noticed that even knowing that he was going to pass, that her own mood was not as depressive as it had been and despondent, in total despair. He was gradually bringing her out of it. And so he lived 66 days. And in those 66 days, she loved him and he loved her. And he brought a light into her life that she didn't even know existed. So when they had the graveside service and she was throwing dirt onto the little casket, she heard something that said, "You're looking in the wrong place." She said it was an urgent voice that made her look up. And there he was. She said it was the same eyes that she'd been looking at for 66 days. And it was the light and love of something so powerful she could not even give words to. And right then it changed her life. Did she get over her grief immediately? No, of course not. If there's anything worse than the loss of a child, I don't know what it would be. And many in here have suffered through that. And I'm sending light and love to you right now. But she said it changed her life. She went on to, in her role as a psychotherapist, to use this profound knowledge and understanding of something more. And it gave her the gift of helping others to heal. That's exactly what we're talking about today. How can you be a light in the midst of darkness? We know that it's hard sometimes. We're not exactly sure how we can share our light. We're just not certain. How do we bring light to the world? Well, look at this little illustration, will you? And this is powerful, and it is true. I've told you for many years to smile. Even when you don't feel like smiling, smile anyway. It releases all these powerful chemicals and endorphins into your own system, and the next thing you know, it will pull you out of whatever depression you have going. Smile anyway. Make yourself smile. See this little guy, he's holding a light and he's smiling. And the next thing you know, he's affected a couple of people beside him. And then they've affected a few more. And that's exactly how we bring healing to the world, one person at a time. We attend to our own thoughts, and instead of criticizing others, could we be non-judgmental, hold them in the light, and send light to them, directly to their heart? Smile, give compliments. It's so easy to do. Oh, I love your beautiful dress. That's so pretty on you. It really brings out the color of your eyes. Or just see how much difference it makes. And you mean it. You're not pretending. You mean it. Smile, give compliments, hold doors for others. And instead of griping when you see a buggy in the middle of the shopping mall or the parking lot, instead say, you know, I bet there was a mother trying to get her baby into her car, and she was not able to leave the baby and take that shopping cart back to where it belongs. And don't you see how much better that'd make you feel instead of griping about it? Do you see? Don't you see? Then all of a sudden you're honored. Aren't you honored to take that buggy back? Take it all the way back into the store. If you got a few minutes, just go around the parking lot and do that. Take some trash, pick it up. Don't just gripe about the person that threw it down. Actually pick it up and do something with it. Take some gloves with you if you need to. You see someone not doing their part, that's okay. Forgive them. You don't have to like it, but pray for them instead of criticizing and condemning them. And refrain from idle comments that make others feel badly. And you know what I'm talking about. When you're all puffed up and you're bragging about something you did so you can spread the news about how great you are. Instead, think of the person that might be feeling poorly. When we do that, we think about the other person, that empathy is what that is. It'll shift everything. Start thinking about, oh goodness, if I say this, how's that going to make them feel? And allow your light to glow ever outward. And I just want us to know this morning that suffering is not the end. Suffering is not the end. It's not the end of the story. It can be part of the story, and many times it is, and it may take that to wake us up, to find the light. One of my favorite stories is by Dr. Rachel Naomi Reman. She says, I had a man come into my practice with bone cancer. His leg was removed at the hip to save his life. He was 24 years old. He felt a deep sense of injustice and a deep sense of hatred for all well people. He didn't even want to see them. He just hated them. They were well, he wasn't. So he took out all his anger on them. She said she worked with him through his pain and his grief and his rage, using painting, imagery, and psychotherapy. And after more than 2 years, there came a profound shift in him. He even started to visit other people who had suffered severe physical losses. Once he visited a young woman who was in the hospital after a double mastectomy, and she couldn't bring herself to get over it. She was in so much grief and pain at the loss. So it was a hot day in Palo Alto, and he was in running shorts. So his artificial leg showed. So he got to the room, and the woman was so depressed about the loss that she wouldn't even look at him. But someone had turned a radio on in the room, and there was some really lively music playing. So he couldn't get her attention. He finally took his leg off and set it aside and started dancing around on one leg. Finally got her attention and made her laugh. She said, well, man, I guess if you can dance on one leg, I can surely sing. See what a difference we can make by taking our losses, our challenges, and making something good out of it. And remembering that suffering is not the end of the story, just like the mother who lost her child. She was reminded there's a light somewhere, and there's a purpose in this. So many times we were told that there was a God in the sky that was punishing. And now we choose to believe differently. we believe that there is a power in the universe, and this power is all good and all love and all light. And we can choose to see that and connect with that or not. It's an individual choice, and it's always, always up to me. And I had one other little story I wanted to end with this morning. There was a person in my life, a very dear person, that had gone through a terrible betrayal. One betrayed her that she felt like never would, and betrayed her in such a way that she felt she could never get over it. She didn't want to live. There was nothing she could do. She became so depressed and spent years in that condition, betrayed, in pain, with no hope of things ever getting better. And she said to me one day, "When you preside over my funeral, would you have one of the songs be A Bridge Over Troubled Water?" And I knew the meaning of that. I knew it was because that was sort of her theme song. It's how she felt. And any of you that know the song, you know that it has a very, very sorrowful feel to it. Very, very sorrowful. And you really wouldn't want to play it or sing it if you were wanting a joyful mood, would you? So a few years went on, and do you know, she finally let loose of that depression, that anger, that disappointment. She let it go. She said, "I no longer want you to have that song performed at my funeral anymore. I want joyful music." I can only tell you how that made me feel to know that she finally had accepted a glimmer of light in the darkness. And sometimes we can be that in someone else's life. You know how it would be if we're stumbling around in the dark. I sort of felt that way on the way in this morning when I came by the harbor, and the fog was so thick you could not see the car in front of you. And the interesting thing was about the fog being a little different than the dark, that you couldn't see the light, but you knew it was there because there was a glare in your eyes. Yeah. Different kind of experience. But those of us out there driving in the fog, we knew that it would be lifted, and we knew that it would clear. It was just a temporary thing. And that's the way it is when you begin to look at life a little differently, and you see that when you keep your thoughts positive, it changes your life. It changes who you are. It changes your circumstances. Instead of looking for the same old solutions, now you're looking for otherworldly solutions, and you're expecting them, and they come. So if I could just encourage you this week, just as Jack encouraged us last week, your assignment this week is to find as many ways as you can to bring light into whatever situation you're in. Light a candle instead of, like Lucy, cursing the dark.